Alrighty, everybody, welcome to another amazing Friday. Thank you for joining us. And this is our Careers in Animal Welfare segment. For those of you that haven't been with us before, this is a segment that we have created, brought to you by Pasadena Humane, that explores interesting or different careers in animal welfare, even if it has something to do with something small, something big, or everything in between. With me today is an amazing person with our shelter. She's actually given a lot of her time to us, the amazing Miss Fabi.
Hi, everybody. So good to see you. Or not see you, but I'll see you later.
So, Fabi, tell us a little bit about what you do and what your role is with our shelter.
I am a pet groomer and help animals that need a little help cleaning up themselves and beautifying themselves. And I say pet groom because I don't do specifically just dogs. I do cats. I've worked with rabbits. I've worked with iguanas. I've even worked with pigs. Everything needs a little help getting cleaned out there. So that's what I do.
Well, how do you groom a pig? How does that work?
Well, for the pig, it's mostly baths because they do get really dirty.
Okay.
And they need to clean their ears, and they need, everybody needs a little help cleaning up their ears and their toes. They get muddy and all that stuff, and everybody needs a little help.
Just a little bit of spring cleaning with them. Okay, fair enough. So I know through our work with the shelter, sometimes you might get like the harder grooming cases, right? Like animals that are severely matted and things like that. How does that affect what you do? Like, is there a specific way you have to go around it?
With matted dogs, they usually haven't been handled very much. And they're not treated very well, so you got to be very cautious and slow with those cases. And once they feel a little comfort with you, they start opening up, and you notice a change in their behaviors, and it's always a positive thing. I mean, imagine getting yourself so muddied up and then you get a haircut and you feel like a different person. Same with the animals, they change and they feel so much better after that. Yeah. But yeah, it's cautious. Sometimes I need a muzzle. Sometimes I need a lot of extra time. Sometimes it takes me, an hour. Sometimes it takes me 5 for one dog. So.
Whoa. Yeah. So there's a lot of trust building that goes into what you do.
Definitely. There's a lot of dog psychology involved with what I do. And that's number one, most important is how you view and deal and feel comfortable with the dog.
Okay.
Communication with the dog is key. It is.
And what are some things that you do to make the animal more comfortable? If it's like the first time seeing you, or in those cases where it's like a very severely needed grooming?
You go slow. Hand movements are very jarring to those kinds of dogs. So you go really slow. You use the soft voice. You touch them slowly and always use a voice with you. You have a helper around because you can't do it by yourself. You do need a little extra help. And I have my son is my helper.
Oh.
He's 19 years old. So, young kids can do it. It's just a matter of your personality and your mindset of how you deal with these animals, because it does take a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, you seem to have the personality for it. You seem like a very sweet and chipper, and you're ready to take on those challenges. So that's great.
I try.
So how old were you when you started getting into grooming?
I was actually a lot older than you would think. I was in my, I want to say 39.
Okay.
I was a flight attendant. Before that, I was a flight attendant. I did my thing out in the world, and it was time to settle down. I had my kids, so of course I had to stop moving around and traveling everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as a child, I always wanted to work with vets. I wanted to be a vet. Everybody wants to be a vet. Yes. But, the challenges of going to school and the money and a lot of studying and the time, I got into the vet tech program. I did. But I realized it was not for me at that age. So I looked into grooming, and my kids started school. I had a little time on my hands. I got online, looked for grooming schools, saw one that worked for me. So I could study at home and take all my tests. And then I did an externship at a groom shop, and that's where I learned most of my stuff. Of course, it's good to be prepared before you go in there and start putting your hands on a dog. So you have to learn the anatomy, different types of coats, different types of breeds, different behavior of the breeds, and you get to learn all about these things that you never knew you had to know. But it is very, very important to learn all those things. So yeah, that's how I got started. And it took me, I want to say, about 1.5 years to finish my program at school. And then I took 4 years working at the groom shop after my externship. They hired me because they liked me. Ooh, that's cool. So yeah, I took 4 years at the groom shop before I joined the Pet Care Foundation and started going to the shelters, because you do have to work on your own. So you have to be comfortable working on your own. And yeah, it worked out for me. I've been doing this now for 13 years and here I am.
And you're still happy, you're still loving it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I am big on animal memes. I feel like it has something to do with the field I work in, but I love animal memes. So I always come across these like grooming memes where it's just like, oh, huskies will always sing you the song of their people, like you're murdering them while you're grooming. Or for some reason, Cocker Spaniels always end up pooping at the end of their groom session. Is there some truth to that?
It's very true. It's very true. As we know, huskies are very vocal. They're very energetic. They want to go, 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 go. Yeah, like you know, the Cocker Spaniel's a little more shy. They're close to the ground. They kind of don't want to like. It depends on them, but they don't want to like have a lot of interaction and stuff. So it's a lot of psychology, like I said before, of learning the different breeds and their standards and their behaviors. And yeah, I mean, it depends on the dog too, because I wouldn't say they're all the same, because there are some that are not, you know, typical of their breed, and those are awesome. Because actually, we just had a husky 2 minutes ago. Actually, we just put him back, and we expected him to be like really, you know, hyper, and he's got one eye, you know. So I was expecting hyper and jumpy, and he was not. He was just the coolest little guy that just let us do whatever we wanted to do, and it was awesome. So
by chance, was it a brown husky?
Yes,
Calypso. Yeah, that's Calypso. Great dog.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Calypso is actually, very different from what a husky usually is. He's so mellow that we've introduced him to our kids programming. Does amazing. So for those of you looking, Calypso at Pasadena Humane, he could be a great fit.
He's awesome, and he's clean now. He's pretty dirty. He's clean now.
Yeah, thank you. He did definitely need a bath and some love. So as you were getting started, were there any mentors in your field or people that kind of helped open certain doors for you that made you really cement your want to be in this field?
Mentors, not necessarily somebody that was a groomer that I looked up to. I mean, honestly, and you know, this is a cliche, but my mother was my biggest mentor. Yeah, she's a businesswoman, and she's a person that goes. And you know, this really inspired me to never stop what your dreams. I mean, you know, like I said, I was 39 when I started this, and this is something that I've been wanting since I was a child. So we did the whole money thing, we did the traveling thing, and now it's time to stop. And what do I want to do? And so, yeah, my mom was the one that said, you know, Mija, you could do whatever you want. Start at the bottom, go find a school, and do it. And of course, you have to keep going. You never let obstacles get in your way. That's the main thing.
And it's actually really interesting that you bring up grooming schools, because that's not something that I thought was part of becoming a groomer. I thought it was like hands-on learning, and that's just like how you became a groomer. I didn't know there was an actual school that goes into it. So that's actually really cool.
Yes, there's actually different ways, because I've known a lot of people that have become groomers by starting at a groom shop as a bather, just as a job. And so I know a lot of people who didn't go to school, who went straight into hands-on. Now that depends on you. It depends on how reliable you are. You know, show up to work every day. Go there with a smile on your face. Show like you want to do this, and people will bring you in, and they'll say, "Hey, why don't you come over here? I think you make a good groomer. Stand next to me, watch what I do, and then we'll go from there." So it all depends on how you want to do it. I'm a person that likes to be prepared. I don't like to walk into a place and say, I want to do this. I have no idea how to do this. I want to go in and say, you know, I've learned this. I know this. I know this. Let's try this out. Or take a chance on me, of course. So, I mean, it all depends on you and your personality and how you want to do things in life.
So how did you go about picking a grooming school? Like, was there a criteria that they had to meet for you, or was it more about like scheduling?
For me, it was scheduling because I had two small children at home, and I couldn't leave the house 8 hours a day to be at school because they're in diapers.
Yeah.
So I found a school that was mostly online learning and a lot of testing, a lot of books. So they sent me a ton of books, a ton of stuff to read over. We went through a lot of I guess I wouldn't even say state testing, but they are coming up with state tests.
Okay.
But yeah, so you can get certified, and they are going to have a certified program because there are a lot of groomers that are not certified, and mistakes happen. So they want to move ahead and make it a little tougher on hiring people that are capable of doing this job, because it is kind of tricky. We work with a lot of sharp objects, a lot of scissors and blades, and you have to know how to move around the dog and the anatomy of the dog and how to avoid cutting certain areas, because it does happen, and that's what we don't want. So we want somebody to be prepared and know their stuff before they go out there and say, hey, I'll cut your dog's hair, and oops, I cut his ear. Sorry, that's not a good thing. It's not a good look.
Yeah. And I'm sure your dog's never going to want to get groomed if it's missing an ear.
Of course. Yeah. Then they'll be terrified to go to the groomer. Of course. So yes, there is standards out there.
Good. Well, I mean, it definitely makes sense, right? We have accreditation for behaviorists, for vets, things like that. Yeah. So if you're trusting somebody with your animal, you are hoping that they are in some form trained.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go to a doctor that, an eye doctor that usually works on the ears.
Yeah, I want to know my eyes. Yeah, definitely.
Or somebody that's going to cut my hair that knows how to cut people hair, not dog hair. Although I've had a lot of people ask me to cut their hair too.
Oh, how does that work out? Do you just give them like a straight bob? Is that what works there?
Yeah, right. I'll cut my kids' hair straight across the bottom.
So you mentioned that this was a career change for you. What was it about grooming that you're like, hey, this clicks? Was it that it gave you freedom to like create your own business, or was there something else that pulled you to it?
Well, I'm an artist as well. I do a lot of drawing. Yeah, I do a lot of pencil. I like to do portraits of people's faces, and I love to work with my hands. So going into vet school, I noticed that it was vet techs, and God, bless their hearts, they have to deal with the worst parts of animal. I wouldn't even say behavior. They're medical issues, and they look at the bad stuff, and that made me feel very upset inside to see these animals suffering and in bad conditions. So I thought, hey, you know what? Grooming would make them pretty. I want to make them feel good. So and plus I'm an artist, and I love to work with my hands. I sculpting their little paws and their face and their head and their ears. I love it. I love doing that. And of course they're moving around, so it's a little, it's not like a piece of paper. Yeah,
there's a challenge there.
Yeah. It's a moving target. So it came with a lot more than I figured it would, but I love doing it. I just love the end result. It's awesome.
So it's definitely a challenge, right? It's a living creature. It's moving around on you. Are there things that as owners we can do to make it easier for groomers?
As an owner, I would always tell them to step away, because the doggy wants to be and say, mommy, help me, and to step away. Make sure you're out of the picture, just so we can concentrate on the dog, and dog can focus on me and I can focus on the dog. And that's the best thing I could ask for an owner.
Okay.
Yeah, teach them sit, work with them, teach them little basic commands, because we do use them. Hey, sit, can you take a treat, and they'll do all these things for us, and which makes it comfortable for us and the dog to know what we expect of them and what they expect of us as well. Yeah. That's all I could ask for groomers to do, really. Otherwise, the dogs are awesome.
I find it super interesting. The more that I do these segments with people and I ask them about, like working with animals and things like that, a lot of their answers shockingly kind of mirrored working with kids. So it's the same thing. Like you ask preschool teachers, like, hey, how do I make drop off easier? Just drop your kid off. Like, just go ahead, step away, they'll be fine. So yeah, that's an interesting mirror.
It is. I mean, you can imagine with my dog too, and my kids. When you're with them, you're like, oh my God, just be good, be good. And they feel that energy. Your dogs pick up on energy, and so do kids. So you want to make sure that they're out to get that energy away. If you can if you're a calm mom or parent or dog, it's another story. But most people are just, my baby, which I understand. I'm completely like that too. But yeah, stepping away is the best thing, I swear.
Yeah, just give them a second, they'll be fine.
Yeah, press people a little bit, but it's hard to.
No, yeah, and even coming from a background of like knowing these things, it could still be difficult for us to put them into play because we're still human, right? We're still people. We just fall into these traps.
Oh my,
So if people wanted to learn more about grooming, like the job and things like that, are there any websites or any resources you can recommend to people?
There are a lot of books out there. I was looking through the internet and I saw a really good one. Ooh, the Careers in Animal Welfare was a good one if you want to learn basically everything that goes along with grooming. If you're going to open up a groom shop and start up your own business, there's a lot of insurance involved in case of accident. They do happen. Accidents happen.
Okay.
Your dogs get into fights and stuff. So you do need insurance for that. Building up clientele is tricky, but it's all about advertisements, putting word out. Yeah, it's a book and Caesar's Way. I like Caesar's Way to learn about how to train animals and how it's more about dog psychology, learning more about how people can deal with animals, because a lot of people treat their animals like they're people and expect them to act like they're people when they ask them to do certain things. So you have to get into their mindset. It's a whole nother ball game. And get out of that human behavior idea that everything understands what human behavior is like, because they don't understand it. So yeah, Caesar's Way is a good one. There's all kinds of books about breed standards and different breed haircuts, and going like show dogs. There's so many different avenues you could do. You could do movie dogs too, where you change a dog to look like a different creature altogether. Those are really cool, and I actually wanted to get into that business. But yeah, you could train dogs for movies, groom dogs for movies, for commercials. There's so many different things, training, so many different avenues. And of course, breed standards are pretty important if you're going to get into the grooming field, because people do come in with their schnauzer, expect a schnauzer cut, or Yorkie, you expect a Yorkie cut. There's different ways how to deal with different coats, different shampoos. There's a lot of, I hear your puppy.
Here's my little one. Yeah. So, Akaya.
He's putting his 2 cents in.
It's because she hears a mailman. So that's actually really interesting, especially touching on breed standards, because I know there are a lot of people who know what like a dog is supposed to look like, but they don't necessarily know what like the haircut is called. They'll be like, here, make my Shih Tzu look like a Shih Tzu. So that's actually really interesting. And in building up yourself as a groomer and yourself as a business, what were some of the steps that you took to like build up that clientele and start that reputation going?
Well, luckily the groom shop that I worked for was a very, very busy one. I was considered the gentle groomer.
Okay.
So the dogs that they gave me were usually the hyperactive, the dogs that were not used to being handled, because I did it slowly. I did it, methodically. I thought about it. So in that sense, I built up my clientele with those people, so that I became known as the girl to go to if you have a rambunctious dog or a dog that is a little shyer.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how you do it when you first start. Now, if you're just starting on your own, it's going to be a little tough. You'd have to go out there and do your thing, put your photos out there and see the before and after, so people can walk by and say, hey, that looks cute. Let me check this person out. But that goes with time. Building clientele is a tough thing, but yeah, it goes with time. As long as you're good, you're friendly with them, you know what you're doing.
It just starts building.
It just starts building. Word of mouth gets out. it's all word of mouth. Yeah.
That's actually
now that I work at the shelter, I really don't really need clientele. I have my clients sitting here waiting for me.
We have dozens of dogs for you to pick from. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's awesome.
So actually, how does that work for you? Being in our shelter as a groomer, what method do you use for picking out dogs that need grooming?
Their appearance. The first thing is like I just go by and look at their appearance, and I notice their temperament as well. There's a few times where I've gotten bitten, twice pretty bad, but you know, that comes along with getting to know the dog.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as picking out, I just go by, hey, this guy needs it, this guy who needs it the most, the shyest one, let's try to like pep him up a little bit, make him a little more adoptable. Yeah, it's pretty standard, you know, going through, and because you guys have this so many different ones, you know, you got to watch out who you put your hands on, and you get to know how they move, the way they look at you and all that stuff. So you make your decision, and your you know.
Well, I will say that you've made a huge difference when it comes to certain dogs getting adopted. I used to work as a counselor, and you could see the interest go up on an animal that's been recently groomed. It just looks clean, it looks fresh. So a lot more people are interested. And we used to get that question from adopters like, hey, is this animal going to get groomed anytime soon? And we're like, we can't give you that answer, but it is available for adoption. And some people would just like kind of like back away a little bit. But then that animal gets groomed and they're like, oh my God, this is an amazing dog. So they kind of like go out on that limb and take the shot with the job adoption. So yes, you are definitely getting animals out of the shelter.
Excellent. That's my job. That's the goal, and we're doing it. And you notice that they change personalities too.
They do. Like heavily matted dogs seem so much more comfortable once they get shaved down.
Oh yeah, they're all of a sudden they're friendly and want to play with you, and you know, it makes a difference.
So I know you as the dog groomer for our shelter, but do you ever groom like cats in our shelter, or is that something you do independently?
No. I've done many cats actually. Here at Pasadena and other shelters, they need it too, and bunnies do too. They get matted, and
okay.
Yeah, they're different animals. They're a lot. They make me sweat. Because you never know when they're gonna lash and go and then try to scratch you, and they do. But it's come to a point where I learn when to touch them, and their little tail goes like this. It's like, ooh, take a break.
You know how to like bob and weave, get in and out.
Yeah, you know, the tail wag. The tail wags on dogs is good, but tail wags on cats is not. So there's a different mentality going on there too. So that's another thing you have to adjust yourself with as far as cats are concerned. There are some that will not let you touch them, where, you know, I've been, it's been pretty scary.
I like how much more daunting it seems to groom a cat than a dog.
Oh, yes. I mean, not everybody can understand. Imagine a cat looking at you, you know, it's like, oh, okay. But no, they do need it too. They really do. And once they get done, it's the strange. They hate you when you're doing it, but once they're done, they love you.
Aww. So okay.
Cute. Yeah. So there goes the change in psychology in cats as well. Bunnies, it's a little different. You know, I've never had I never looked at a bunny as a affectionate, but since I started grooming bunnies, I've grown to love them.
Oh, okay.
The first time I've gotten licked by a bunny was actually here at the Pasadena Humane Society. He just came up and started licking my neck, kind of saying thank you.
Oh, that's adorable. Yes. See, I've only had like bad experiences with buddies. Yes. Like the first time I got growled at by a rabbit was at work, and I was like, I didn't even know you guys could growl. Okay, there's that.
I know. It's really fun working with the different animals and getting to know their different kinds of personalities and that. And they've got them. They've got personalities. They can be a little sassy too.
They're interesting little creatures.
Yeah, they are.
They're not always prey.
No, they're not at all.
So what kind of tools do you utilize as you work? Like we all know clippers have to be involved in there somewhere. But what other tools come into play with your career?
Well, of course, you know, the clippers, the blades, the scissors, the thinning shears, the slicker brushes, the combs, different kind of dematting tools. They look pretty. They're like big. Yeah, they look pretty dangerous, but once you start using them, you just go really slow, and they work. Rakes for huskies, they have special rakes that you use for an undercut. You know how much they shed. Oof.
Yeah.
So every year you gotta keep, raking it out, even twice a year. Other than that, your normal shampoos and your hoses and the leads, and of course different kinds of leads. I've learned so much about different not shampoos, scents, that the sprays that you put on them. You have to learn how to make big bows and all that fun stuff. A lot of
all the pageantry that goes into it.
Oh yeah, the bandanas and all, make them look all pretty, and put bows on the head, and the fun stuff, the fun stuff.
So if somebody was looking to get their animal groomed for the first time, what are some things you would recommend they look out for when looking for a new groomer?
Try to find one with a little experience.
Okay.
Especially if it's your first time. Yeah. If it's later in life and you've been to that groomer and you say, hey, this is a new groomer that would you like to try? Of course, why not? Everybody has to start somewhere. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, yeah, their attitudes, the groomer's attitudes is big time, because you know what? If we have problems at home, we don't bring them to work. Everything stays back there. With grooming, you have to be very focused. Okay. So look for that. If they have attitudes or they're angry or something like that, no, you don't want them to handle your dog. Definitely. But
and what about mobile groomers?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad. What about mobile groomers, like people who like drive to your house in those really cool vans?
I've actually had one of those. That's when I first started coming here. I had my van. I parked it out in the parking lot, and they brought them out. The vans, people usually have some sort of experience. If they can afford a van, and they work by themselves, they have some experience behind them, hopefully, unless they're super rich and somebody gave it to them as a gift and said, hey, go do your thing. But usually they have some kind of some kind of a reference from other people that have used them.
Okay.
So look it up on Yelp. They usually have some kind of Yelp reviews and all that stuff. It's pretty cool now that the internet's involved, because before we didn't have that. So now you can go online, say, hey, does this guy have any complaints? Usually they do. We'll look at the good stuff, and the bad stuff is always going to come up. Take it with a grain of salt, really, because because there's a lot of people out there that are complainers, and that's what they live for. I've realized that. Like I said, everybody starts somewhere. Mistakes can be made, and they do get made, and you learn from them. People that have made mistakes also are the people that know what not to do. So if you see something that's just pure, they're great, something's not right there. It might be all their family putting their stuff in there and stuff. People that have made mistakes now, I'm not talking about people that have hurt animals, but oh, he didn't cut right over here, he didn't do the right haircut, or I didn't like the way his tail looked, and blah blah blah. That's something that that people learn from their reviews. Even
they grow from that.
Yeah, they improve. So somebody that's cut a dog is another thing. Even that, it has happened to me, just from going the wrong direction. Oh shoot, oh my God, what did I do? We take them to the vet immediately. We bring them back to the owner, let them know what happened. They're stitched up, whatever. It does happen. Even that is something that they learn from, and I've learned from it, which I haven't done that in years. I have.
Yeah, you get the experience behind it. You learn to go the right direction, right? Yeah, so it becomes a better situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very good. So audience, real quick, I want to tap in with you guys. I have just a couple more questions for Fabi, but now is your time. If you'd like to ask her any questions about grooming, her career, how she got started, go ahead and drop those in the chat box, and we will answer them in the order we receive them.
Great.
Alrighty, so back to me. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part is dealing with dogs that are a little aggressive.
Okay.
That is the most challenging part. To get them muzzled is pretty challenging, because I've gotten bit quite a few times just by trying to put the muzzle on them, and they're just like snapping at you. Oh shoot, hold on a second. My keys in my sock. No, it's in my purse. I'm sorry. He's going to bring one of the dogs that I groomed right now. So you guys can see.
We would love to see, actually.
Poodle that I did earlier today. He's such a cute one. But yeah, the aggressive dogs are the most challenging part. I'm scared. I get scared because I've seen some horror stories out there happen. You know, where a girl got her nose was and it was hanging down like by a German Shepherd. You know, she just reached down and like tried to clean out the hair from the drain, and the Shepherd just went poof, and her nose is just hanging right off. I was just like, oh wow. So yeah, you got to be careful about where you put your face, how you pick up the dog. That's when it happened. I picked up a chow, and there was two of us, and I was in the front, and the dog just turned around and like bit my face. Luckily, I had my glasses on, so he didn't bite into but he bit my whole face. And just by picking up, because he wanted to go pee, and we weren't aware, and we just picked him up, and it was just like wow. So yeah, it's a scary thing. You could come home very injured one day. So you have to learn how to kind of hold yourself back when you're picking him up, so he can't turn around and bite you. Using towels a lot to cover their face sometimes when you're not unsure about a certain dog. That's the only major thing that would not even bother me. It just scares me. It just scares me.
So how do you bounce back from that fear? Because I know for some people that might be like the moment they decide, hey, this is not for me. So how do you cope with that?
Well, for me, I learn from that. I understand the dog. I start to rationalize by myself what I shouldn't do for the next time, because I'm not gonna, it doesn't make me stop. I mean, I love coming to work. I love doing what I do. So yeah, it's not gonna stop me. And yeah, some people it might, but you have to build a personality and understanding that this isn't personal. You learn from it, you keep going, and you do things differently. And I always blame myself. I would say, I shouldn't have done that. I should have, oh, God, it's my fault. It's just a dog. This dog has no, you don't blame the dog. You don't get angry at the dog because he's just doing his natural thing, and you kind of, like I said, I kind of understood, oh, you needed to go pee. I'm so sorry I touched you that way.
Yeah. And see, I feel like that's also very important for people to understand, especially when working with animals. They don't have the means to communicate with us the way you and I can communicate, right? So unfortunately, they're going to resort to whatever they do have at their disposal. And sometimes that means a chomp. But I think, like you said, it's just really important to kind of put yourself in that mindset, like, hey, I should have been more mindful of what I was doing. And now I know for the next time how to approach the situation better.
Yes, learn. Yeah, you live and learn by keep doing it. Like, just, you gotta keep back. You gotta keep coming back.
Yeah, I've taken a couple bites in the shelter, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that way.
Yep.
So we have one person asking, when you mean going in the right direction, I'm assuming in grooming, do you mean with buzzers or scissors? Can you please elaborate?
Oh, as far as grooming? When you go in the direction, meaning the physical, you go the way the hair grows. Say the hair grows this way, you follow that, you go this way. You don't go backwards, because that'll get closer to the skin, and it'll like.
And that's with clippers, right?
And that's with the clippers, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. With the scissors, of course, you can go in any direction. It just hairs it straight up. But yeah, when you groom them, go in the direction of the head that the hair grows.
Okay.
Because if you go back,
it's kind of like shaving on people, right? Like you should shave in the direction of growth.
Well, I don't know. I see guys like going in the opposite direction when they shave themselves. They go up instead of down.
Just go all kinds of ways.
Yeah, they go all kinds of ways. It depends on how close you want it. You want the cut. But with grooming, each blade is a different size, so you want to keep the size true to the size of the blade, which is in the right direction. If you go opposite, then it's going to be shorter than what you expected.
Oh, and then you have to like make everything match that one side.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, what is the most exotic animal you've ever groomed?
Well, I don't want to call it grooming, but an iguana. Yeah, iguanas get really long nails. Have you seen them? And
little hooks, yeah.
And they hook, yeah, and sometimes they hook into their paws or their feet. I don't know what you call an iguana foot. Yeah. And plus, they crawl on you, they go up your leg and all that stuff. So you want to, yeah, an iguana. I was like, wow, they brought him into the shop. They're like, I just need my iguana's tail, nails cut. I was like, I'll do it.
That's cool. Okay. Cool? How do you even go about pricing something like that?
With the same $10. It was $10.
Okay. Come here. Oh, do we have a friend?
Yes. She doesn't have a name. But
oh my goodness.
Hi,
hello, friend.
He was so scared. He was so mad. He had like this big thing coming off the top of his
head. Corner kennel, right?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah. So this is him, his new haircut.
I wish I could show you guys like a before picture. This is amazing. This is a complete 180-degree turnaround.
You can see the picture that I have here. But yeah, this is a totally different look for him.
Yeah, you brought him out and I was like, who is this animal? And then you mentioned the thing and I was like, oh yeah, I've been calling him cockatoo.
I don't know if you can see that. Let's see.
And yeah, see, complete difference. He looks kind of like down.
Picture, but before and after.
Super cute. So yeah, if you guys are interested, we have another adoptable animal. There you go.
Yeah, stay here. I don't think he's available yet because there's been a couple people looking at him. He's not available yet, but he will be soon.
There you go. Check him out on Pasadena Humane. Someone said that is amazing work. So congrats, Fabi.
Thank you.
Someone wants to know, what are some shelters that groomers can volunteer at? They work at a shop in the city of South El Monte and with 2 other groomers, and they would love to volunteer at a shelter. Any suggestions?
Oh, all the shelter. I didn't know. I don't live in El Monte, so I'm not sure what the shelters are called there or where they are, but every shelter has a volunteer program. I believe you have to be 16. The youngest is 16, but they do train you. You go in, and I'm not sure how all these other ones do, but the ones I work at, I usually work with LA City and of course Pasadena. But they do give you like seminars before you go in and touch the dogs. They train you very well and teach you how to on animal behavior and what to look for, and it's really interesting. It's really fun. Either that or go to a zoo too. The zoo has a lot of student programs. So yeah, and I would love to do that just to learn about the different animals and their feeding habits and their behavior and all that. So interesting. There's so many places you could go. But yeah, all shelters have some kind of volunteer program.
So is that how you go about it? You just contact individual shelters, like you don't need to go through a third party or anything like that?
No, not at all. You can go online actually and sign up for them. Before the pandemic, I believe that you'd have to go in to fill out some kind of an application, but now you can do it online. And then you go in for the seminars before they set you free and release you to the homes.
There you go. So any of you groomers that want to go ahead and start volunteering in shelters, just start checking out your local shelters and keep at it. Does Pasadena Humane take volunteers? Yes, we do, friend. We are constantly in need of different volunteers. Because of the pandemic, our volunteer programs are a little bit different now. We are limiting how many people can be at the shelter at any given point in time, but you're always welcome to sign up. We have different programs rotating throughout the year, and we do have some that involve outdoor outreach programming, food bank. We have things that involve the animals if you want hands-on experience. So by all means, check us out at pasadenahumane.org/volunteer.
Please. I would love to see you
here. Just cue that in.
I would love to see all you. Come on in.
Oh, okay, perfect. So someone wants to know, how did you get your son involved in grooming?
Actually, I've had many assistants, and my son was out of high school. He was not, he wasn't doing much of anything. So I was like, you know what? Come with me. I'm going to teach you, because during the pandemic, of course, I couldn't go to the shelter to groom. So what they allowed me to do is check the dogs out of the shelter and bring them to my house.
Oh,
and
okay.
I set up a grooming table outside, and I groomed in front of my kids. So they came out and they started checking out what I was doing and stuff. And my assistant at the time, he decided to quit and go somewhere else. So I was alone. I was like, hey, you over there, my kid, do you want to come help me out? He's like, sure, So once he got his foot in the door, he loved it. Loved it.
Okay.
And I think he's now planning on following in my footsteps.
That is so cool. Like a generational growth. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. No, that's great. And if you ever been to the Grooming Convention here at the Pasadena Convention Center, they do have
what? I didn't know this was a thing. Okay.
Yeah, have you seen the competitions that they do there?
No.
You haven't been? It's amazing. They use colors and they make these flowers out of their hair all over them, and they just use it blows me away. But anyway, the youngest groomer there, and she won, was 15 years old. And she did this amazing dog. I forget which one it was. I think it was a Disney princess, where she put a princess on each side of the dog. And it was colorful. It was amazing. And she was only 15 years old. Now her mom is a groomer too. And it seems, is this it? Oh, this is the girl.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know if you could see.
Oh, wow.
That's a dog. Yeah. Let me see his face. You see, that's the dog's face. And it's just it's great.
That's actually really
15
cool.
15 years old. You could do this as a kid. As long as you have a good guidance. And, like I said, her mom was a groomer. So, of course, when you're at home and doing this.
Yeah, laying down the foundation.
Lay down the foundation. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
On your end, have you ever considered participating in these grooming competitions, or have you before?
I was thinking about it. It's very extensive, though. I might.
Okay.
I might. But it's a lot of color. I've tried color before, and it's really messy. And since I do he's playing on the table. Since I do the shelter dogs, I try to keep them as normal as possible. Yeah. Sometimes I do the ears and stuff, but it's messy. It's messy. I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Maybe.
What is that though that does dye the fur for dogs? Because in my head, I'm picturing a color run situation, but
they're different. Some are liquid where you use a brush. Some are spray. Some are crayons where you could just draw on them. The spray ones, of course, because you could use a stencil and just kind of spray like a lightning bolt on it, which I've done. Cool. Because I wanted to do a dog that looked like bolts, that cartoon. So I put a little lightning bolt on the white dog and adopted immediately. I was like, there's Bolt. Yeah.
People love gimmicks. Those dogs go immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody was younger and asking you, how do I get started? Would you recommend that they just kind of walk into a grooming shop? Do they groom their own dog first? What do you think?
It depends on how old they are.
Okay.
Say a 15-year-old, if they're mature enough, well, they have to have a working permit from their school to go to work. But a 16-year-old can do it. I would say start with your dog. Get a book, buy a book. That way you learn the proper techniques and how to do it. Because going in there blindly can kind of injure a dog. I've seen a lot of injuries from people that say, hey, I can do this, and they just buy a clipper and go, ooh, and there's a big chunk of their dog missing. Ooh. And I've seen it many, many times. And then they bring them to the groom shop. I'm like, oh, let me fix you. Oh my God, poor thing. But definitely don't go into it blindly.
Okay.
Kind of look for a mentor if you have one around. Go to a groom shop. Ask a groomer to give you a few tips on how to do it. Books are always good. Videos, online videos, I would say go to YouTube. But there's a lot of misinformation online. So I would go to your books first and then go to YouTube and see what coincides with the book that you just read. But yeah, it's a tricky thing because you could learn a lot of misinformation out there. Mm-hmm.
So it's about being a little discerning about the information you absorb, right? Yeah. Just kind of sifting through your facts, making sure anyone putting information out there for you is someone who is accredited or at the very least has experience.
Definitely.
All right. So this has actually been really, really fun. It went by in a blast.
It's over?
It's over. I told you this would go super quick.
Wow, okay. Well, this is a pleasure.
This was actually really great. You are one of our last speakers, but definitely not the least. We've had so much fun with you. We got to see adorable animals and we learned so much about what it means to be a groomer and that it's never too late, right? If you want to try a new career, you can do it at any point in your life.
Any point in your life, yeah. You could do 3 things in your lifetime and you'll be fine.
There you go. Oh. All right, Fabi. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank our amazing audience for your questions, for coming in on a Friday afternoon, and for continuing to support Pasadena Humane. Oh, are we going to say bye to our friend too?
Yes, look, he's playing this like that.
Bye, friend. And bye, son.
He's just playing around.
Oh, cute.
He's so cute. But anyway, thank you all for joining me and tuning in to us.
Yes, we'll be happy to have you anytime, Fabi.
Oh, thank you so much. We'll see you out there.
All right. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
You too. See bye. Oh, he clicked it. He clicked it off. Yeah, he clicked it off. Now, where was I? In case she wants to say something to me.